Aaru at Petan for Mute Maat. Sister Maat is a greater source of divine truth than the greatest of Heka books. Based on Princess Aaru, the magic book c. 1100 BCE. We were the two children of my father the pharaoh Ptah, and he loved us very much, for he had no others, and my brother Ptah was in the Netger temple as heir over all the land. And when we were grown, my father the pharaoh said to my mother the Hamatanzwa, I will marry my son Ptah to the daughter of a Imaku, and from Maat to the son of another Imaku. And my mother said, No, he is the heir, let him marry his sister, like the heir of a pharaoh, none other is fit for him. And my father said, That is not fair, they had better be married to the children of a Imaku. And my mother said, It is you who are not dealing rightly with me. And my father answered, If I have no more than these two children, is it right that they should marry one another? I will marry Ptah to the daughter of an Imaku, and from Maat to the son of another Imaku. It has often been done so in our family. And at a time when there was a great Amun feast praising the Netger Emun, they came to fetch me to the feast. And I was very troubled, and did not behave as I used to do. And my father the pharaoh said to me, For Maat, have you sent someone to me about this sorry matter, saying, Let me be married to my elder brother? I jokingly said to him, Well, let me marry the son of a Imaku, and he married the daughter of another Imaku, as it often happens so in our family. I laughed, and my father the pharaoh laughed. And my father told the vizier of the Netger temple, Let them take from Maat to the Netger temple of her brother Ptah tonight, and give their Netger temple all kinds of tributes and offerings. So they brought me as a wife to the Netger temple of my brother Ptah, and my father the pharaoh told them to give tributes to our Netger temple. They gave our Netger temple cows, goats, fruits and more. And my brother Ptah passed a happy time with me, and our family received all the offerings from the Netger temple, and we loved one another. And when I expected a child, they told the pharaoh, and he was most heartily glad, and he sent many tributes to our Netger temple, the best cows, fruits and linen. And when the time came, I bore this little child that is before you. And they gave him the title of Ptah, and registered him in the book of the divine family tree of life. And when my brother Ptah went to the temple of Ptah, he did nothing on earth but read the writings that are in the catacombs of the pharaohs and on the tablets of the divine family tree of life, and the inscriptions that are seen on the monuments, and he worked hard on the writings. And there was a Kai Imaku there called Ptah, and as Ptah went into a temple to pray, it happened that he went behind this Kai Imaku, and was reading the inscriptions that were on the temples of the Netgers. And the Kai Imaku mocked him and laughed. So Ptah said to him, Why are you laughing at me? And he replied, I was not laughing at you, or if I happened to do so, it was at your reading writings that are worthless. If you wish so much to read writings, come to me, and I will bring you to the place where the book is that Netger Tahadi himself wrote with his own hand and which will bring you to the Netgers. When you read but 2 pages in this, you will enchant the heaven, the earth, the abyss, the mountains and the sea. You shall know what the birds of the sky and the crawling things are saying. You shall see the fishes of the deep, for a divine power is there to bring them up out of the depth. And when you read the 2nd page, if you are in the spirit world, you will become again in the shape you were in on earth. You will see the sun shining in the sky, with all the Netgers and the full moon. And Ptah said, By the life of the pharaoh, tell me of anything you want done, and I'll do it for you, if you will only send me where this book is. And the Kai Imaku answered Ptah, If you want to go to the place where the book is, you must give my Netger temple a cow, and provide that they shall bury me as a great Kai Imaku. So Ptah called his lad and told him to give the Kai Imaku a very nice cow, and he made them do as he wished, even everything that he asked for. Then the Kai Imaku said to Ptah, This book is in the middle of the river at Koptos, in an iron box. In the iron box is a bronze box. In the bronze box is a sycamore box. In the sycamore box is an ivory and ebony box. In the ivory and ebony box is a silver box. In the silver box is a golden box, and in that is the book. It is twisted all round with snakes and scorpions and all the other crawling things around the box in which the book is, and there is a deathless snake by the box. And when the Kai Imaku told Ptah, he did not know where on earth he was so much delighted. And when he came from the temple, he told me all that had happened to him. And he said, I shall go to Koptos, for I must fetch this book, I will not stay any longer in the north. And I said, Let me dissuade you, for you prepare sorrow and you will bring me into trouble in the Thebaid. And I laid my hand on Ptah, to keep him from going to Koptos, but he would not listen to me, and he went to the pharaoh, and told the pharaoh all that the Kai Imaku had said. The pharaoh asked him, What is it that you want? And he replied, Let them give me the royal boat with its belongings, for I will go to the south with Maat and her little boy Ptah, and fetch this book without delay. So they gave him the royal boat with its belongings, and we went with him to the haven, and sailed from there up to Koptos. Then the Kaimakis of Netjaralzet of Koptos, and the high Kaimaku of Netjaralzet, came down to us without waiting, to meet Neferkaptah, and their wives also came to me. We went into the temple of Netjaralzet and Harpocrates, and Neferkaptah brought an ox, a goose, and some wine, and made a burnt offering and a drink offering before Netjaralzet of Koptos and Harpocrates. They brought us to a very fine Netjar temple, with all good things, and Neferkaptah spent 4 days there and feasted with the Kaimakis of Netjaralzet of Koptos, and the wives of the Kaimakis of Netjaralzet also made holiday with me. And the morning of the 5th day came, and Neferkaptah called a Kaimaku to him, and made a Heka cabin that was full of men and tackle. He put the spell upon it and put life into it, and gave them breath, and sank it in the water. He filled the royal boat with sand, and took leave of me, and sailed from the haven, and I sat by the river at Koptos that I might see what would become of him. And he said, Workmen, work for me, even at the place where the book is. And they toiled by night and by day, and when they had reached it in 3 days, he threw the sand out and made a shoal in the river. And then he found on it entwined serpents and scorpions, and all kinds of crawling things around the box in which the book was, and by it he found a deathless snake around the box. And he laid the spell upon the entwined serpents and scorpions and all kinds of crawling things which were around the box, that they would not come out. And he went to the deathless snake, and fought with him, and killed him, but he came to life again, and took a new form. He then fought again with him a second time, but he came to life again, and took a third form. He then cut him in 2 parts, and put sand between the parts, that he should not appear again. Neferkaptah then went to the place where he found the box. He uncovered a box of iron, and opened it. He found then a box of bronze, and opened that. Then he found a box of sycamore wood, and opened that. Again he found a box of ivory and ebony, and opened that. Yet, he found a box of silver, and opened that. And then he found a box of gold. He opened that, and found the book in it. He took the book from the golden box, and read a page of spells from it. He enchanted the heaven and the earth, the abyss, the mountains and the sea. He knew what the birds of the sky, the fish of the deep, and the beasts of the hills all said. He read another page of the spells, and saw the sun shining in the sky, with all the Netjars, the full moon, and the stars in their shapes. He saw the fishes of the deep, for a divine power was present that brought them up from the water. He then read the spell upon the workmen that he had made, and taken from the haven, and said to them, Work for me, back to the place from which I came. And they toiled night and day, and so he came back to the place where I sat by the river of Koptos. I had not drunk nor eaten anything, and had done nothing on earth, but sat like one who has gone to the grave. I then told Neferkaptah that I wished to see this book, for which we had taken so much trouble. He gave the book into my hands, and when I read a page of the spells in it, I also enchanted heaven and earth, the abyss, the mountains and the sea. I also knew what the birds of the sky, the fishes of the deep, and the beasts of the hills all said. I read another page of the spells, and I saw the sun shining in the sky with all the Netjars, the full moon, and the stars in their shapes. I saw the fishes of the deep, for a divine power was present that brought them up from the water. As I could not write, I asked Neferkaptah, who was a good writer and a very learned one. He called for a new piece of papyrus, and wrote on it all that was in the book before him. He dipped it in beer, and washed it off in the liquid, for he knew that if it were washed off, and he drank it, he would know all that there was in the writing. We went back to Koptos the same day, and made a feast before Netjaralzet of Koptos and Harpocrates. We then went to the haven and sailed, and went northward of Koptos. And as we went on, Netjartahudi discovered all that Neferkaptah had done with the book, and Netjartahudi hastened to tell Netjarva, and said, Now, know that my book and my revelation are with Neferkaptah, son of the pharaoh Menptah. He has forced himself into my place, and robbed it, and seized my box with the writings, and killed my guards who protected it. And Netjarva replied to him, He is before you, take him and all his kin. He sent a power from heaven with the command, Do not let Neferkaptah return safe to Memphis with all his kin. And after this hour, the little boy Meradptah, going out from the awning of the royal boat, fell into the river. He called on Netjarva, and everybody who was on the bank raised a cry. Neferkaptah went out of the cabin, and read the spell over him. He brought the body up because a divine power brought him to the surface. He read another spell over him, and made him tell of all that happened to him, and of what Netjartahudi had said before Netjarva. We turned back with him to Koptos. We brought him to the good Netjar temple, we fetched the people to him, and made one mummified him, and we buried him in his coffin in the cemetery of Koptos like a great and noble person. And Neferkaptah, my brother, said, Let us go down, let us not delay, for the pharaoh has not yet heard that our son has died in the river, and his heart will be sad about it. So we went to the haven, We sailed, and did not stay to the north of Koptos. When we were come to the place where the little boy Merabpatah had fallen into the water, I went out from the awning of the royal boat, and I fell into the river and died. They called Neferkapatah, and he came out from the cabin of the royal boat. He read a spell over me, and brought my body up, because a divine power brought me to the surface. He drew me out, and read the spell over me, and made me tell him of all that had happened to me, and of what Netjer-Tahti had said before Netjer-Ra. Then he turned back with me to Koptos. He brought me to the good Netjer temple. He fetched the people to me, and made one mummified me, as great and noble people are buried, and laid me in the tomb where Merabpatah my young child was. He turned to the haven, and sailed down, and delayed not in the north of Koptos. When he was come to the place where we fell into the river, he said to his heart, Shall I not better turn back again to Koptos, that I may lie by them? For if not, when I go down to Memphis, and the Pharaoh asks after his children, what shall I say to him? Can I tell him, I have taken your children to the Thebaid and killed them, while I remained alive, and I have come to Memphis still alive? Then he made them bring him a linen cloth of striped byssus. He made a band, and bound the book firmly, and tied it upon him. Neferkapatah then went out of the awning of the royal boat and fell into the river and died. He cried on Netjer-Ra, and all those who were on the bank made an outcry, saying, Great woe! Sad woe! Is he lost, that good scribe and able man that has no equal? The royal boat went on without anyone on earth knowing where Neferkapatah was. It went on to Memphis, and they told all this to the Pharaoh. Then the Pharaoh went down to the royal boat in mourning, and all the soldiers and high Kaimakas and Kaimakas of Patah were in mourning, and all the officials and courtiers. And when he saw Neferkapatah, who was in the inner cabin of the royal boat, from his rank of high scribe, he lifted him up. And they saw the book by him, and the Pharaoh said, Let one hide this book that is with him. And the Imakas of the Pharaoh, the Kaimakas of Patah, and the high Kaimaku of Patah, said to the Pharaoh, Our Lord, may the Pharaoh live as long as the sun. Neferkapatah was a good scribe and a very skillful man. And the Pharaoh had him laid in the good Netjer temple to the 16th day, and then had him wrapped to the 35th day, and laid him out to the 70th day, and then had him put in his grave in his resting place. I have now told you the sorrow which is come upon us because of this book.